As bourbon drinkers, we are constantly trying to indoctrinate people into our way of thinking. Bourbon is better than other whiskeys for insert random reasons, whatever. But once you get to a certain point in your whiskey journey, especially as a bourbon drinker, you decide you want to branch out into other areas. Scotch is usually the most common, so I've come up with a list of 5 or 6 bottles of Scotch for bourbon drinkers to try. Roll that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to T-Rod Whiskey. I am of course your host, T-Rod, and this is the internet's most okayest whiskey review channel. If you are new here, congratulations. Your decisions can only improve from here on out. If you are not new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you can find out whenever I am making new content. Now, as a whiskey enthusiast, right? Not just a bourbon nerd or a bourbon enthusiast, but a true whiskey enthusiast, I try to be a universal appreciator of distilled aged spirits, specifically whiskeys, because friends don't let friends drink vodka and gin is hit or miss for me. But specifically whiskeys. Got a bunch of scotches, got some Irish, got some Japanese, got a few bottles of Indian, Canadian for sure, right? But specifically Scotch for bourbon drinkers. So bourbon drinkers are a little bit more akin to that sweeter flavor profile. They like the oak flavors that are imparted, those sweet caramels, vanillas that we are so accustomed to. So I've got 5 bottles here that are, I think they're all under $75 actually. Some are single malts, some are blends, but 5 bottles for bourbon drinkers to try if you're looking to dip your toe into that pond of Scotch water, right? So in no particular order, right? First one up, Dewar's 12 year. So this is actually a 12-year-old blended Scotch, and this one is, let me see, yep. So 40%, 80 proof. Scotches are not by nature as high proof as bourbons are. And that's going to be the first struggle that a lot of bourbon drinkers are going to have to get past. They're a lot more delicate, a lot more nuanced. I would encourage you all to not fall into the single malt trap because there are quite a few really good blended and blended malt Scotch whiskeys out there. Dewar's 12 is I think only $40, $35, $40, made by John Dewar's and Sons. It has a really light, approachable, malty profile that, I mean, it's actually pretty nice. You got some fruit notes, you got that maltiness, a little bit of earthiness, but it's cheap. So not only are you getting a 12-year age statement from a reputable blending house, you're getting something that is not super departed. I believe these are all in ex-bourbon casks. It says married in oak casks, so I don't know exactly what kind of casks they are aged in, but I'm pretty sure ex-bourbon is in here. So you're going to get at least a little bit of that bourbon profile imparted to it. Okay. Next up, this is a Highland single malt. This is Ardnamurchan AD, and the Ardnamurchan AD, this is 46.8%. So what, 93.6 proof, right? Yeah, 93.6 proof. Ardnamurchan's a relatively new, relatively lesser known distillery, and it's actually very difficult for me to get a hold of one of these bottles in the States. But the reason for the lighter color on a lot of scotches is they are aged in used barrels. Remember, bourbon, new, unused, charred white oak barrels. Scotch doesn't have that limitation, so it can be used bourbon barrels, and sometimes not even the second or third time. I believe these are first fill bourbon casks, meaning it's the first fill after the bourbon comes out. Scotch terminology is a little bit different, but this one has a very light kind of hay profile. There's white fruits, really enjoyable. Again, a lot of scotches are gonna be on the fruitier end of things. This one I think ran about $70 when I was able to get one. I know they have a 10-year age statement. This one is not age stated, and it's the only one I've ever seen, so I made sure I grabbed it. But really good, really approachable. Again, lighter, nuanced, all that jazz. Next up, this one is a little bit more recognizable. This is a Johnnie Walker product, but specifically the High Rye. Okay, this is a 90 proofer, which I think actually makes it the highest proof on this list.
No?
From a very recognizable label, Johnnie Walker's been making whiskey for a really long time. This is a $40 bottle, and it's going to be very, very similar to a high rye bourbon. It's going to have malty characteristics to it, but it's also going to have that rye spice that you've become accustomed to. So a little bit easier of a transition. This might actually be the easiest transition on this list if you're a fan of rye. Next, the Deanston Virgin Oak. So this is Scotch, but it's actually aged in unused oak barrels. I don't think it's American white oak, but unused oak barrels, hence the virgin oak. And this gets a lot of those wood sugars, a lot of that wood characteristic imparted. So it's very, very similar to bourbon in the way that it's aged. But remember, we're still talking about a single malt. So this is 100% malted barley, right? 46.3%. So we've got what, 92.6 proof. So it's very good. A lot of those oak derivatives make their way into the profile on this. It is another Highland. Stayed away from anything peated on this just because you don't see a lot of smoky bourbons or heavily smoky bourbons. So nothing peated, nothing from the islands, not a lot of coastal stuff here. Highlands and Speyside are going to be your friends if you're looking to make that early transition. But they also have a 12-year that's relatively affordable. This one I think is like $50, $55, and it's available damn near everywhere. Most of these come in a box. I kind of did away with the boxes for storage reasons, but yeah, keep an eye on the Deanston. It's one to look for. Lastly, and right now this is my favorite Scotch to drink. This is the Glenlivet 12-year illicit still single malt. So this is another, this is a Highland, I believe this is another Highland single malt. And this one is 48%, so 96 proof. Is that higher? No, okay, so 96 proof is, yeah. I don't know what I was talking about, the Johnny Walker. But this is 96 proof. This was discontinued a few years ago, but you can still find them on the shelves. Glenlivet's been making whiskey for a really long time, so they're pretty good at it. It's just really well done. It's supposed to be made in the same artful way that Prohibition distillers kind of did it, you know, hence the illicit still name. It's got some white tea notes to it, a little bit of an earthier characteristic, but you do get a lot of oak presence. You get a lot of barrel influence, which is nice. And I believe these are also ex-bourbon cask matured, which is really nice. So it'll make that that hop, skip, and a jump over from bourbon to Scotch just a little bit easier. And again, nobody's saying you gotta stop drinking bourbon altogether. It's just when the mood strikes, maybe look for one of these guys. So that's it, guys. Real quick, real easy, no muss, no fuss. 5 bottles of Scotch that if you're a bourbon drinker, you might consider picking up. You know, give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You'll have a bottle on the bar for when your Scotch drinking friends come over. Hey, why not? But that's all I got for you guys. Enjoy your weekends, go green, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.